answered, we want this company out, we want changes in the law, and we want the company to come back to public hands. The government didn't take that in account either. They completely dismissed the results of what we have done. And on that time, we realized that we had to do something else. So in April, we called to the final battle. That's the way that we portrayed that. It was like we were going to win or we were going to lose. There wasn't any alternative, any other alternative. So we called again for mobilizations, and they were a month later after February. For 4 or 5 days, people mobilized here. At the beginning, there were many people, 25,000 probably here in the plaza. But as the days were passing, less people start to come to the mobilizations, and the police didn't come to repress, and we knew that they have changed completely the strategy. They knew that if they took the police outside, that was going to make angry to the people, so that's why they didn't do it, and they were playing for us to get tired. Negotiations were still happening anyway. The government never considered the Coordinadora a legal entity, so they didn't want to negotiate with the Coordinadora spokespersons. But people were pushing them to be inside of negotiations. There is something that Oscar always tells us, that when the negotiations were happening here and people were all around the plaza, the government said, I'm not going to talk to you guys because you are not legal, you can leave. So they were leaving, but the people here didn't let them get out of the building. They said, no, you have to be inside because you have to negotiate for us. So Oscar said that the spokespersons of the Coordinadora suddenly stay in a hall, not be able to go outside, but not also be able to be in the middle of negotiations. During the conflict, there wasn't any birds here.
So, Marcela, we've done 3 corners of this park where the factory workers still have their offices, the government offices, and now across the park, the church. Mm-hmm. Talk about the role of the Archbishop.
The Archbishop was very important during the water war because he was the person that sort of mediated with the government and the people, but not just being impartial. He took a side. He took the side of the people, and he completely agreed with the demands of the people because it was it was obvious we were right. He was very important. He was always at the side of the people.
Do you think he could be cardinal today if he hadn't done that 10 years ago?
I think he could. He could, but because he took a side of the people, probably against what the normal role of the church is, because the church is always trying to be impartial in a conflict. But no, he took a side, and he was at the side of the people. He took the right side. People who were organized in every corner were the young people, what we call the water warriors. They call themselves the Guerreros del Agua. So they were in every corner, and there were in this church also. There was one kid from the street that will ring a bell every time that he'll see the police or the army coming. He was on the very top of the tower.
They tied ropes around the bell?
Yes. So every time that they will see a police or army coming, they will, ring the bell, and we will all know they were coming, and people will get ready to fight them. So the young people organized themselves in a way that nobody told them how to do it. They did it by themselves. Nobody told them, you have to do this. Nobody. I don't think anybody expected what was going to happen. In February, we thought, oh, this was amazing, and, something that like a peak, never something like that will happen again. But in April, it happened again. And I don't think I will ever live something like that. My parents will say that they didn't see something like that since the revolution in the '52. So, all the people who were living that time, I'm pretty sure they feel like, it was so historical. There is a military base here, and at some point during the conflicts in April, when we hear those rumors that the police was coming, that the army was coming, that the government was sending the army to kill the people, some of the citizens felt like they need to be armed too in order to respond to the government, to the army. At that point, you know, the demands of the people were not just, we want the company to leave. The demands of the people were, we want this government to leave, and we're going to make our own government here. So that was kind of scary because we didn't know how this was going to end up. I don't think, and that could reveal also how the movement was growing. You know, it was so spontaneous and nobody was leading it.
Here you have a woman holding a slingshot with soldiers at the other end of the street, or police. Tell us about this.
Yeah, what the people were trying to do, and you don't see it here, but there are people here also. We were trying to take over the plaza that is behind the police line. And we are like just 2 blocks away from the plaza. So the woman is throwing them stones with this traditional gun.
Slingshot?
Yeah, we call that huaraca in Quechua. So the people use that in the fields for llamas to keep them together. So what happened 10 years ago, it opened the doors to what we have right now and what we're going to have later, you know. If we have a president like Evo Morales, it's because the social movements in April 2000 opened a door for that to happen. And the message, I think, is that the water war is not over. The conflict 10 years ago was not just about water, it was about something else, especially what we call democracy. It was about who decides about the things that matter to us, that are important to us. And 10 years later, we are in a point where we want to say it was not over. It's not over. We are still trying to not resist, you know, resist privatization in this case, but to build something. And I think there's still a long way to go. You know, I feel like personally, I feel like I was a very important part of the history in that we changed a little bit the course of what was going on. The lesson of the water war is that nothing is definitive, that we always can change things. The system was privatized already here. We could put it back. We could break that, and we could get back the company into our hands, something that we never imagined that could happen. And this is something that Oscar all the time says, that slogan that we always repeat on the streets, that the people united will never be defeated. It's something that we lived here in Cochabamba 10 years ago, and something that we believe it can happen again and again and again. We never thought we were going to win. Never thought we were going to win. What we were doing, it was struggling for in that minute, in that second. I don't think in anybody's head was the fact we're going to win this war.
And what about when you did win?
It was an incredible joy, but also it was very sad, because in the way to get something that we want, we lost people, and young people.
Marcela Olivera. She served as the key international liaison for the Coalition for the Defense of Water and Life. For all the images of what happened 10 years ago in the streets of Cochabamba, where we're broadcasting from, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bolivia's ambassador to the United Nations, Pablo Salom. Stay with us.